Hey friends, Andy here. How you doing? Good to see you. Could we just go like a day or two without some kind of drama happening in the cryptoverse? Most recently, I talked about Celsius and how they froze withdrawals and how there's a bunch of money that's just being held captive there. Well, wouldn't you know, there's a bunch of other similar companies that are experiencing some of their own turmoil. So in this video, I'm going to talk about that very thing. I'm going to talk about some news that has recently come out about specifically BlockFi and Voyager. I'm going to tell you exactly what I am personally doing, and then I'm going to leave it up to you to decide what you should do yourself. So right off the bat, super quick update on Celsius. Largely nothing has changed. Money is still stuck there with no news as to when you might be able to withdraw. I believe they're still wrestling with all of their liquidity issues and other problems that are happening, but hopefully we get some news and some resolution on that before long. In a few of my recent videos, I have talked about Voyager and how Voyager is pretty different than Celsius, and that is very true. However, they just released a press release today talking all about their current financial situation. But first, let me briefly talk about BlockFi, which is another interest-bearing account for cryptocurrency. The news about BlockFi is a bit shorter, so I'll cover that first, and they are related. BlockFi did just announce that they received $250 million from FTX in the form of a loan. There's not a ton of color around this just yet, but this is to help with liquidity and being able to meet demand for withdrawals for their customers and make sure that their customers are covered. Well, and wouldn't you know it, same day we get the press release from Voyager, which is basically saying the same thing except to a tune of a bit more money. And basically in this press release, Voyager talked about two main things. One, their exposure to 3AC or 3 Arrow Capital, and two, the amount in which they have been loaned money from also FTX. If you're not familiar with 3AC, 3 Arrow Capital, well, there's a whole bunch of involvement with them and Celsius as well. Much of the high risk stuff with Celsius was all through 3AC. And I guess despite Voyager saying publicly on Twitter that they weren't associated with certain aspects that Celsius was, they are very much exposed to the very same 3 Arrow Capital. And this press release tells you exactly how much. Press release says right here that Voyager's exposure to 3AC consists of 15,250 Bitcoin and $350 million in USDC. And I'll go ahead and do the quick math for you. 15,250 BTC is about $370 million. So that total is $720 million from Voyager of customer money that has been sent over to and is residing with 3AC. And 3AC at this exact moment is unable to pay all these things because their money is all illiquid and tied up. And if not just tied up, much of it is either gone or lost value or what have you, who knows. So at this stage, Voyager has let 3AC know that they may issue a notice of default to 3AC because of the failure to repay its loan. And Voyager, in fact, has asked them to repay some of it to the tune of $25 million by this Friday, the 24th, and requested the entire balance by June 27th. So let me explain this as simply as I can. Voyager has sent $720 million of their capital to 3AC in the form of a loan for 3AC to then get a return and pay it back to Voyager, and Voyager makes money and is able to extend that yield on to its customers. Well, unfortunately, 3AC has effectively defaulted on these loans or is about to. They're unable to pay these loans back, which means that Voyager money that's supposed to be in Voyager or be able to protected by Voyager or be able to be withdrawn or taken out by customers of Voyager is unavailable. And to make matters worse, Voyager only has about $152 million in cash at this exact moment, which does not nearly cover any of that 3AC money or if all the customers from Voyager decide to withdraw today. So that's where FTX comes in. They have just given a loan to Voyager to the tune of $500 million. But if you do those quick maths, that's still not enough combined to cover all the outstanding money. So what happens next is a little bit up in the air. And that loan is in the form of $200 million in cash and USDC and 15,000 BTC revolver loans. Now, the interesting thing here is the fine print. So you think, oh, they've got 500 million. At least they can service most of their customer base and have most people covered. However, the loan has this stipulation, which includes no more than 75 million may be drawn down over any rolling 30-day period. So that means they have this money, but unfortunately they can only pull 75 million of it per rolling 30-day period. So if Voyager customers to the tune of more than $75 million, or if they need more than 75 million in a period, they can't actually pull more than that. So on one hand, this seems like they are at least fixing the problem of liquidity for customers and stuff by having this additional loan. But on the other hand, there are limitations to it, but also it's just another loan that they have to pay for with money that doesn't exist anymore, at least until they get paid back from 3AC, if that even happens. And to compound all this a bit more, they actually put a withdrawal limit today of $10,000 on a Voyager account. So if you have more than that, you have to take multiple days in order to withdraw all of your money. And to make matters worse, because Voyager is a publicly traded company, you can view their stock and you can see that it has taken a massive tumble today. The stock actually in the past 6 months or year is down over 90%. So that comes to the next part of this, which is the question of what am I doing? Well, what I'm doing is I have removed all of my funds from Voyager, BlockFi, Nexo, and HODLNOT, all the places where I've had money to earn interest with crypto. I'm not doing this because I believe that these are all going to go under, but I'm doing this because I feel like these are very uncertain times, and I thankfully pulled my money out of Celsius as I heard the initial rumblings of Celsius, and I got all my money out of there before they locked it down. So this is just me preemptively pulling my money out of these places just in case I'm unable to in the future, or just in case they do become insolvent or bankrupt or fail or what have you. So I have all my money in my own controlled wallets, which I recommend to most people doing anyways with most of your money, but I have removed all of mine from those different platforms. I don't actually know too much about what's going on with Nexo or other ones like HODLNOT, which is actually in a different country right now, but I'm just taking it off all the centralized, uncontrolled wallets, interest platforms until all of this kind of works itself out, because I think there's probably going to be a lot more drama to come. Now, I think it's also important to note here that I'm not saying that I think Voyager is going to fail. I think they've done things a lot better than Celsius, but obviously their exposure to all this questionable stuff is pretty dang high too. I don't have nearly as much insight into BlockFi, but they have their own trouble, obviously, if they're having to take out a loan as well. So I don't think this is the nails in the coffin, but this is certainly troubling information. So I'm being extra safe and extra protective and keeping my money safe until I see what happens next. So what should you do? Well, you should do what you think is right. If you feel safer having money in your own control wallets, well, then you should pull your money out as soon as possible. If you think this is all no big deal and it's all going to blow over, you're not worried about it, well, then keep your money with these platforms. But for me personally, it's not worth the money I'm earning in interest to keep my money there. It's worth it just to pull it all off so I can control it and then wait. But I would love to know exactly what your plan is, what you're going to do. Let me know down in the comments what your plan is with all this craziness going on. What happens next? What am I missing? What do you think is going to happen with these platforms? And if you did miss that Celsius update, you can watch that video right here. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Stay safe out there, and goodbye.